Vice President Joe Biden going after Donald Trump. Well, President Obama is getting in that game, too, going after Donald Trump in his own way. He did it last night on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Listen.
His first two terms ended in such a hurry. Wish he could go for 3 like my man Steph Curry.
Now, there will be no third term. I can't stay forever. Besides, Daddy's got a Hawaiian vacation booked in about 223 days. But who's counting? That being said, the American people face an important decision this fall. The entire world is watching, and they look to us for stability and leadership. Now, I know some of the presidential candidates have been critical of my foreign policy. I don't want to name any names.
He's talking about Donald Trump.
There's a long clip, the slow jamming the news with the president and Jimmy Fallon. You need to see the whole thing. We will play it for you later this hour. I want to talk about everything going on in the world of politics right now. Let's bring in political science professor and politics editor for TheRoot.com, Jason Johnson, and Rebecca Cinderbrand, political news editor for The Washington Post. Jason, if Hillary Clinton wanted to meet with Elizabeth Warren and have nobody know about it, she could. She could have had a private meeting to talk about important issues with Elizabeth Warren today privately. But that is not the path that they chose. They chose a very public meeting at the Clintons' house in Washington, D.C. Let it leak this morning to The Washington Post and other news outlets. Why? Why does the Clinton team want the world to know she's meeting with Elizabeth Warren this morning?
Because this, Mike, this is comfort food for the Bernie Sanders supporters, okay? Hillary Clinton wants to feed them this idea that, look, if I don't pick Bernie Sanders as my VP, I might pick Elizabeth Warren. But I think people should remember, about a year ago, Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren have a meeting. I always think, Hillary kind of Jedi mind tricked her in saying you don't want to run for president and probably convinced Elizabeth Warren to not get into the race. But I think they're going to play footsie for a while. Elizabeth Warren is incredibly popular. She is very quick-witted. She's actually better at attacking Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton, and she wants to tease this out as long as she can.
Yeah, the issue of whether or not Hillary Clinton wants Elizabeth Warren as her vice president is different than the question of whether Hillary Clinton wants people to think she is considering Elizabeth Warren today as her vice president. And the answer to that question is a decided yes.
Yes.
And Rebecca, Elizabeth Warren, perfectly happy to engage in national politics. We're watching a lot of SUV movement live right outside the Clinton household right now. We expect Elizabeth Warren to arrive there soon. I don't think that's her right there. But I was saying, Rebecca, Elizabeth Warren involved in this national game right now of attacking Donald Trump. She is engaging him directly. And you see it on Twitter this morning. She is causing him to engage her directly. That tweet where he calls her Pocahontas, at a time when a lot of people are saying that Donald Trump is pressing a lot of racial buttons, he seems to be willing to do it here as well. This refers to something that came up in her 2012 campaign against Scott Brown in Massachusetts, where Elizabeth Warren, some people say, exaggerated her Native American roots.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's a twofer. On the one hand, you have Elizabeth Warren, someone who clearly relishes tangling with Donald Trump. This is someone who's enjoying herself and actually pretty good at it so far. She seems to be getting under his skin a little bit, pushing his buttons. And on the other hand, Donald Trump does not yet seem to have figured out exactly how to push back. You see the nicknames he's chosen for. In the past, he's gone with Crooked Hillary. He's gone with Lion Ted. These deal with kind of known quantities and narratives about these candidates. Elizabeth Warren, to some voters, is a bit of an unknown, but the adjectives that he's chosen, Goofy, is not going to play very well with female voters, and Pocahontas, at a moment when he is facing criticism for his use of ethnically loaded language, that is not going to play well with some members of the Republican establishment. So he's struggling to find his footing a little bit in his interaction with her.
No, and Elizabeth Warren doesn't pull punches either. She flat out called Donald Trump a thin-skinned racist last night. She doesn't use euphemisms in this exchange. It's interesting because everything that's going on with Donald Trump and these perhaps controversies, if you will, about what he believes or does not believe about people of other races, obscuring what could be some tough news for Hillary Clinton. Continued tough news. All sorts of reports this morning in the Wall Street Journal and other places that some of the emails that Hillary Clinton had on her server as Secretary of State dealt with issues of drone strikes in Pakistan. Now, vague references, we're told, to the possibility of drone strikes, Rebecca. Again, showing the email issue will not go away, showing that there were things in there that could be of interest to a lot of voters.
Absolutely. You know, you had the drip, drip, drip of these constant regulations and, of course, the continued testimony in this civil suit. You seem to have a headline a week. And the biggest thing, you know, Hillary Clinton basically owes Donald Trump a fruit basket because all of the headlines coming out of his campaign have obscured what, for her, could be a pretty big issue, could bring into question matters of her judgment. When Donald Trump is dominating the headlines, it kind of gets pushed a little bit below the fold, and she has him to thank for that.
You know, Jason, we keep looking at Hillary Clinton's house in Washington, D.C., seeing that live picture there. We're expecting Elizabeth Warren to arrive and meet with Hillary Clinton. Do you think Elizabeth Warren will come out and talk afterwards? Is it in her interest to discuss this public appearance?
I think it's in her interest to play this out as long as possible. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Hillary did like a decision thing with LeBron, like this is who I'm finally going to pick. Everyone benefits from associating themselves with this campaign at this particular point, in large part because, one, it's the biggest political story that we have left, and two, because as long as Hillary Clinton appears to be the saner or the less complicated of the candidates, whether you're Joe Biden or you're Elizabeth Warren or Sherrod Brown or any of the other people who might be on the VP list, get your 15 minutes of fame before you have to go out and be a surrogate. So I wouldn't be surprised if Warren says something, maybe not as soon as she leaves the House, but probably sometime later on this afternoon.
All right, Jason Johnson, Rebecca Cinderbrand, stick around, stay with us. A lot more to discuss today. Still to come, Democrats unleash new attacks. How is Donald Trump going to respond? He's already been on Twitter this morning, but what about when he's on a stage? He will speak in just a little bit. We'll talk about what he's saying next.
So you like to work out.